Good afternoon. It's 12:02 in Jackson, Mississippi. Mississippi, my hometown. I call it a hometown because we know everyone in the state. We're mostly family. We're related in one way or another. Most of the history that we find in Mississippi can be found in the cemeteries. And that is where you learn a lot about genealogy and who's related to who and who was came from where. You know, back in the day, Mississippi was reclassified, and you had to be either black or white. You could not be Indian. You had to be black or white. So a lot of families got divided. Some brothers and sisters were classified as black, while other brothers and sisters were classified as white. And that was the prelude to the march to Oklahoma called the Trail of Tears. The Choctaw Nation was headquartered right here in Kosciuszko, Mississippi. We have a small remnant of Choctaws here now in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Quite frankly, they're doing fairly well. They have their own sovereign city inside of a state. Many of you may not recognize the fact that the Choctaws is a sovereign nation. They have their own police department, their own schools, they have their own enterprises, and they don't pay any state taxes because they are a sovereign nation. And so they've operated now a couple of the largest casinos in the state of Mississippi. And Mississippi would love to have some of that tax revenue, but they are unable to get it because of their sovereignty. And so there's a lot of history in Mississippi. And I wanted to spend just a moment or two talking about history in general, and we'll come back to Mississippi. But I have a guest that I've invited on our show today. She's very important to me. She is the baby girl. She has done extremely well for herself and have had some severe life challenges. And she has this motto called "Live Like Crazy," and I think she's done overdone that, quite frankly. But that's her motto. So joining me today is Queen Talicia Garrett. How are you, dear?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm just tickled that you know that that's my moniker is live like crazy for sure.
Well,
Bona fide life addict.
yeah, yeah. Well, what and how did you get such a moniker tagline?
Um, Again, I think we had touched on this a little bit before, but it was something that I adopted after conquering breast cancer. I
Wow,
had such a fixation on time after that experience. Everybody has some residual effect. I didn't realize it was a part of that when I was really in the thick of it. But Live Like Crazy came from being fixated on time and not knowing if I was going to have much of it left and trying to get it all in. Anything I could experience, I wanted to see it, touch it, taste it, smell it, travel to it. So that was where that came from. Live like crazy. I also recently heard I use the term right now, post traumatic stress disorder, but I heard a woman use the term post traumatic stress progress.
mm,
And so it was one I've not heard since I heard her say it, but I identify closely with that because it's not a disorder if you can turn it into a good thing and make some progress out of it. So
wow.
that's what live like crazy is rooted in, that PTSP.
So it's not a disorder if you can turn it into progress.
Yes.
That's
It,
interesting.
it was actually a launch pad as opposed to a disorder. It was pivotal. It had to happen. It was a catapult.
Wow. I can relate to that in many ways. Uh, Booker T. Washington said that it's not the heights that you obtain, but it's the depths from which you came. And so I can relate to that. And I say that many of our sisters and brothers and citizens are quite frankly overachieving based upon their starting point. When you enter the race last, it's difficult to catch the people that are out front unless you run faster than them. In many ways, it's almost impossible. Governor Haley Barbour said that we all need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. Just grab your britches and pull them up by your bootstrap. And Martin Luther King said a bootless man can't pull his boots up, his britches up. You don't have no boots in the first place. So I relate to some of that you're turning tragedy, you're turning a severe setback, could have been mentally devastating, physically debilitating, and turning that into some type of a launch pad. That's very interesting.
Yeah. We have to. And then too, I also have my you mentioned ancestors of ours and what in history that we've been through. And I figure everybody has some form of cancer. I just happen to have had the textbook version of it. I had actual physical cancer, but we all have something that we have to overcome. But it's how we treat, like you said, from the depths of which, how we
Yeah,
treat that.
yeah. I remember traveling out to California to visit with you during that time. It was very difficult for you and your family. It was certainly difficult for me too.
Yeah.
But we learned a lot. We learned a lot about overcoming. We learned a lot about courage and struggle, and um, we learned a lot about faith in
Yeah.
terms of this too we shall overcome. And I compliment you on the lady that you are and the mother that you have become with
Thank you.
your children and my grandchildren. You've done an amazing, wonderful job.
Thank
And
you.
I told you once on one of our podcasts that, you know, I may have alluded to the fact that women are not as strong as men and therefore are not able to do some of the things that men are able to do based upon their physical superiority. And you made a comment, and I was looking at one of the podcasts, and you made a comment that just resonates with me. And when you categorize strength, you said you're not physically as strong, but you said something about life comes through your pelvis, and consider that strength. I said,
Absolutely.
I said, my Lord, my Lord, my Lord. I don't know much about that kind of strength, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I may not be able to open a pickle jar,
right, right,
but I
right.
bring forth life. I
And
think
yeah,
I'm the heavy in the room when it comes to
eh,
that.
there you go. There you go. The strongest of us all. And,
Yeah.
I was visiting with my granddaughters on the run for mayor in Jackson this past April.
Yeah.
And they were saying to me that, they said, Granddad, you really don't understand the contribution that women make on a day basis. They said to me that behind every successful man, there's a good woman, but there's nobody behind a good woman. Uh, they said that they don't have anybody they don't have that kind of a support system. And so they have to rebuild themselves. And I thought about that and I said, wow. I did remember this slogan, this saying that said, when you educate a man, you educate a man, but when you educate a woman, you educate the entire family. I get that. But I didn't know that the woman didn't have a support system that helps her rebuild and regenerate, keep her going every day until my granddaughters made me perfectly clear
Those
about
are my girls.
it. And
Yeah.
they said, Granddad, you just don't get it. It's not that you don't want it, you just don't get it. And I
Yeah.
said, okay, I'll stop and rethink that. So you guys have worked on me pretty good over the years. Uh, I appreciate that because sometimes we guys, we really do look over where our strength and our blessings come from.
Yeah.
And so it's been wonderful. How was your holidays?
Anytime with family and loved ones and just spending time being present with one another is a wonderful time. Gifts aside, um, it's just a wonderful blessing.
Yeah.
So I feel extremely blessed. I have both my mother and my father. This is a rare
Mm,
thing to be
mm,
able to say in your 50s. I
mm.
have my children. I've lived long enough to be here and see my first grandchild. So I am having, I'm the richest woman in the world right now.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah,
You
yeah.
you relate wealth to what? The
Oh my
happiness,
goodness.
contentment?
To life, to being amongst the living. Um, I say that, but then I also have to say, when I say I relate it to life, but even beyond that, I just sat up and watched Black Panther with my baby boy. And there's some
Mm,
scenes in there where Black Panther was buried. He was alive, but he was buried for the purpose of being able to go and visit the ancestors and bring that wealth of knowledge back with him.
mm.
So I say be amongst the living, but I guess there are so many phases of the living. And he totally understood it because he had my baby boy is almost 5. We passed by a cemetery recently. He asked why all the flowers were there. And I told
Mm,
him, so when we die, this is the type of place we take our loved ones to show respect, and we put the flowers to show respect for their life. And he says, so they stay there? And I said, well, actually, we just put the flowers there, but they get the opportunity to go on to the next life.
mm.
And he says, okay, the next life. Well, when do we go to the next life? I said, you got to be 100 before you can get before you can get there. And I had to say 100 because, as you know, I'm an older mom and I don't want to frighten them like when you get old.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
just say, when you get 100, you get to go over there. And then when I said, when I get 100, I get to go over there. And then when you get 100, you get to come see me over there too. So, but yeah, just to, and so I guess that's to say that nothing comes to an end.
Yeah.
There is no death. There is only transition. But in
Yeah.
this life, I am very grateful for the opportunity to be amongst the living, the walking, living, and loved
Yeah.
ones.
I
So,
was at the cemetery, the family cemetery up in Farm Haven, Mississippi on yesterday because my niece Stephanie is in town. She lost her mom back in August, and so she's here now to visit the gravesite and visit family and things of that nature. So I was looking at all of the nomenclatures on the headstone, and some of them were saying, to die is to gain, to die is to gain, to live is to do something else. I forget what that is, but it's a scripture in the Bible. And I looked at my sister Olita and I said, "What do you want us to put on your headstone?" And she said to me, "I want you to put on there that I don't want to be here."
that's my auntie. Yeah,
I thought that was
yeah.
crazy. Yeah, I don't want to be here. So yeah, but there's so much history there, and you're right. Family means so much to us and everybody, and so uh, spend as much time as you can. Uh, Warren Buffett says, "Don't spend a lot of money creating memories," but you know, at the end of the day, that's pretty much all you have. And
Yeah.
so I understand the art of wealth building, and you don't spend money foolishly on things and go on vacations that you can't afford, don't buy so many Christmas gifts and things of that nature. But you do have to find a way to celebrate and enjoy one another.
There's a trend on Instagram and social media right now as Christmas was approaching. people were doing videos of themselves asking their children of various ages, um, what do they remember getting for Christmas last year?
Mm,
Name one gift that you got for Christmas last year. Very few of them could name a gift
mm,
that they had gotten. And then the parent would say, name one thing that we did, name a couple things that we did this year together that you enjoyed or remember. Oh, and the kids would rattle off. Oh, we went to go see grandpa and ate our favorite ice cream or whatever it was, or we went out of town and we did these things. Every single one of them could remember a valuable time spent.
wow.
But those things that came in the shiny packages, not so much. Even if it was something they really wanted, they had to be reminded that that's what they received for Christmas. But all of them, without fail, remember the time spent. So money well spent on those on that is create the experience for
Mm,
sure.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted you to come on and join us. We're always working on improving our station and our ability to remote in guests. And I think that we've come a long ways with that. And so that I think we'll see some interesting things done in 2026 where I'll have the opportunity to have my girls join me from wherever they are in the world and talk about some of their experiences that and how they've overcome some things. And we'll spend some time talking about, how they got to be the person that they are, how much pressure they did put on them, for example, and things of
Yeah.
that nature. We'll laugh about some of those things.
Oh,
So
they get
how
on me. You think they get on you? They get on me tough.
do
They
they?
tell me I need saving sometimes for myself. They say I'm a male. What the middle girl called me a male empathizer, and I needed to be looked after for that. She said
Oh,
you
wow.
empathize with
Wow.
some of the stuff. I said, what do you mean? I said, I believe it, and I don't necessarily believe that the woman has no supports whatsoever, but those supports typically come in the form of other women.
Oh,
Typically.
okay. Okay.
So when
Okay.
people make the argument, I heard a woman on some platform saying, "Well, without a man in the house, you don't have protection from this, and you don't have safety from this." And da, 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 da. In an interview, or somebody came back and said, what do you need these protections from? If we talking
Wow.
about somebody breaking into your house, who's typically breaking into your house? It's typically some guy. Yeah. So so they're saying all the things that you need a man for, outside of building a family, were really to protect you from the things that are often,
Created by man.
created by man.
I
Yeah.
got you. I got you. Well, I tell you what, then we are the villain and the victor. We can do
Yeah.
both. We can be both for
But
sure.
when I tell you though, if anybody that knows me know I love my daddy.
Yeah, you do.
I love my daddy, and I grew up at a time where I was hyper aware of the Black man's plight, and became even more so when I gave birth to my first child, my first Black boy. And so I'm very sensitive to that. And despite the dynamics on what we typically have to be protected from when there's something to be protected from, I stand firm by the men, and especially though, my family, my uncles, cousins, they all have a great place in my heart. And the women in our family though are a little bit. If you get them one on one, they're gonna run your ear. They're gonna talk to you. But when we're speaking in a group, it's typically a male led conversation, which I think is interesting with the weight of the women in our family. We got some heavies in our family, but they kind of let y'all get out there and do they let you do the thing right here. But so it's a good time. But when it comes down to it, you have to use that brawn for all the right reasons. You know what I mean? We don't always need to be the women. Ooh, I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, but the women don't always need to be. They don't always have to be the first to speak. They don't always have to be the first to advocate. They don't always have to be the first to step up to resolve something. I keep talking about the things that I've heard, but we live in a place where we have so much access to so much information. And I heard a Caucasian man say that his mother told him when he was a little boy, if you ever lost or in trouble, find you a black woman.
Mm,
She will help you.
mm. That's interesting. And I know that to be true because as a little boy, when I would be sick, I would call for my mama, and she sometimes would tell my older sister to go see about that boy. And I would say, no, mama, you call. Don't,
Yeah. Yeah. So
don't.
societally, if you put that under a microscope, societally, we are mama.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it don't matter who's calling.
right,
We
right.
are the bosom that provides that safety. I did so in the mall the other day. It was a Latin family. They couldn't speak English. And it was a little girl about 6, 7 years old standing at the top of an escalator with her elderly grandmother. And the grandma couldn't speak English. And I used my little broken Spanish to ask, ¿Tú necesitas ayuda con tu abuela? And the little girl said, yes, I need help with my grandmother.
Mm,
I said, okay. She said she's afraid to go down the stairs, but my sisters are down there waiting. I said, so I looked at the grandma and asked her in Spanish, could I help her? And she said, yeah. And she reached for my hand.
mm,
So I didn't want to, the hand wasn't enough for me. So I interlocked our arms and I stepped out onto the escalator for her to follow me. And we went down the escalator.
mm,
And she looked at me and she said, thank you. And she said, thank you in Spanish. And I went about my way. I asked the little girl, was she good? And they went about their way. And when I looked back after walking a few feet away, the little girl just still was looking at me like I had just saved her day, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
So, but yeah, those are,
Those are
and I
moments
don't
that,
mind being that person. I don't
mm,
mind being revered that way as the Black woman. Now, I will say though, the tides are changing,
yeah.
because those coming up behind me are getting a little bit fed up with the double, um, you fear us, but we're also the first you run to for safety.
Interesting.
That's a parallel for that we've walked for a long time, and it's like, okay, you know. And then again, like you said from the beginning, like, okay, then who's gonna help us down the escalator? Who do we turn
Yeah,
to?
yeah, yeah. Well, darling, we have run out of time. I
No
thank you.
way.
Yeah.
No
we
way.
we will continue this journey. I think that I'll be doing a show in 2026 on the entrepreneur experience, and that's certainly a subject that you can speak to as well. And so I'd love to have you join me in those. Actually, I would love to have all of my girls join me in that. In that, we are a family of entrepreneurs, and that life and those experiences are different than one that has not had those experiences wouldn't understand the sacrifice and the courage and the discipline that's required to even embark upon that journey. So I look forward to having you on that show with me.
Well, I'll definitely be there, and just to give a little, because that's of course, that's a soft spot for me. And I will say that if anyone is listening, thinking I don't need to listen, or that one's not for me, it's absolutely for you. So please come back and listen to us do that one there. So
Love you. Kiss the grandchildren and my great granddaughter.
I sure
Uh,
will. Ooh, she's a Garrett.
she is up and down. Love
Yes.
you, darling. Take
Love
good
you
care.
too.
We'll see
Okay.
you next time.